A Mark Brown Arthur chapter book. BINKY Rules. Text by Stephen Krensky. Based on a teleplay by Sandra Willard. For Chez Quadri, OTN. One Terrific Nephew. Chapter 1. The students at Lakewood Elementary School were making a lot of noise at recess. But Mr. Morris, the custodian, was used to that. He paid no attention to all the yelling and laughter. He had work to do. Raising his clippers, he carefully trimmed the last of the bushes near the gym. When he finished, he stepped back to inspect his work. Mr. Morris was well known for the saying every school should take pride in its students and in its appearance. His eyes swept the length of the building. The bushes were neat, the grass was green, and suddenly, Mr. Morris gasped. There, right in the middle of the walkway, 2 words were written in yellow chalk. BINKY Rules. BINKY Rules? Mr. Morris looked annoyed. At his school nobody ruled by writing on school property. This was totally unacceptable. Over on the playground, Francine rolled a ball toward BINKY Barnes. He let the ball roll up his foot, then he tapped it up into the air repeatedly. 7, 8, 9. I might break my own record. Francine looked impressed. You'll definitely make the traveling team, BINKY. You think so? Absolutely, BINKY smiled. He let the ball drop to the ground and then gave it a big kick. The ball sailed way over Francine's head. Across the playground, Arthur, Sue Ellen, Buster, and Muffy sat around Muffy's portable radio. They were listening to a new song. This is the best song ever, said Muffy. Arthur nodded. It makes you want to dance. I wish the station would play it all day long. Maybe then we could find out what it's called, said Buster. Oh, here comes the end. Pay attention, everyone. That's our most requested song today, said the DJ. Now for the chatter on the platter. It's the surprisingly popular BINKY Soccer Ball flew in, knocking the radio over. It was suddenly quiet. Oh, no! Everyone groaned. Francine and BINKY ran over to join them. Was that a kick or was that a kick? Said Francine. It was a kick, all right, said BINKY. I'm glad you settled that, said Muffy. She grabbed the radio and turned it back on. But it was too late. The DJ was gone. All they heard was a commercial. Arthur sighed. Now we'll have to wait even longer. I heard the group is Finnish, said Buster. Maybe we could call the United Nations. Buster, said Arthur, I think the United Nations has better. BINKY, come here. Everyone turned around. It was Mr. Morris yelling. What did you do? Buster asked BINKY. When Mr. Morris yells like that, it's a bad sign. When anybody yells like that, it's a bad sign, Sue Ellen pointed out. He's wearing his "you're in big trouble" face, said Arthur. What did you do? BINKY shrugged. Nothing. At least, nothing I remember. Well, said Arthur, I think you're about to get your memory jogged. Chapter 2. Mr. Morris waited for BINKY to walk over to him. His arms were folded, and his foot tapped against the ground. You called me? Said BINKY. Yes, I did. Mr. Morris stopped his tapping. There was a long pause. Is anything wrong? BINKY asked. The custodian eyed him closely. We have to have a little talk. You've been going to Lakewood a long time, haven't you? BINKY nodded. I thought so. And do you find the rules of the school confusing? BINKY nodded again. Ah. Well, what about the idea of not damaging school property? That seems clear enough, doesn't it? I guess, BINKY admitted. Good. Then how do you explain this? He pointed to the walkway, where BINKY Rules was written. Wow, said BINKY. Cool. Mr. Morris shook his head. No, Mr. Barnes, it's not cool. Not cool at all. This is a mark against the walkway, a scar on the face of the school. Oh. Mr. Morris knelt down for a closer look. You may think that because water will wash this chalk away, it doesn't really count as graffiti. Graffiti? Said BINKY. He looked confused. Yes, graffiti, the scribbling of words or pictures across walls or buildings. It is an ugly practice, Mr. Barnes. I've never seen my name that big before, said BINKY. It looks really, large. And you never should see it that way again. This is wrong, Mr. Barnes, and you should know better. This is graffiti as sure as if you had carved it in stone. BINKY scratched his head. Wait a minute. You think I did this? Can you think of anyone else who would have a reason to write your name? BINKY had to admit he couldn't. But I didn't do any graffiti ing, he insisted. I haven't been over here all day. Mr. Barnes, do you think these words just grew here? BINKY frowned. That's a hard question. Science isn't my best subject. Well, take my word for it, said Mr. Morris, it's not possible. Okay. So, that leaves me with only one conclusion and one culprit, you. And since you went to so much trouble to create your name here, it is only fitting that you spend the proper time removing it. I've got the hose and brush right here. You can spend the rest of recess cleaning it up. But what about soccer, and kickball, and tag? Mr. Barnes. BINKY sighed. When Mr. Morris used that tone, there was no point arguing. Picking up the hose in one hand and the brush in the other, BINKY got to work. Chapter 3. BINKY Rules, said Arthur. That's right, said BINKY. They were standing outside Mr. Ratburn's classroom at the end of the school day. Buster and Francine were there, too. But you didn't write it, said Francine. Nope. Was it hard to clean up? Asked Buster. BINKY nodded. Mr. Morris didn't want even the smallest smudge left behind. He said it would be a blot on the school's honor. Do you think someone was playing a trick on you? Asked Buster. BINKY shrugged. Well, then, said Arthur, is anybody especially mad at you? BINKY stopped to think. No more than usual. The four of them started down the hall for the side exit. It is too bad, though, BINKY went on. If I had brought my camera, I could have taken a picture. I might never have another chance to see my name that big again. He pushed open the double doors and walked outside. The others followed. I mean, something like that happens once in a lifetime. BINKY, said Buster. I could be old and gray without ever seeing, said BINKY. Well, Arthur began. A sight like that again. BINKY! Francine shouted. Look! She pointed back the way they had come. There, on the double doors they had just passed through, 2 words were written so big that each covered half a door. BINKY Rules, said Buster, reading from one door to the other. Wow. You've been busy. But it wasn't me, said BINKY. Honest. I mean, it looks great, but I didn't. Well, no matter who did it, said Arthur, if Mr. Morris sees it, you'll be camping out in the principal's office for the rest of the year. We need to clean this up and fast. Moving quickly, the four of them went to the supply closet for water, sponges, and a bucket. They managed to get back to the doors without being questioned and began washing off the chalk letters as fast as they could. "Thanks for helping, guys," said Binky. "I never had to wash my name off a door before. It is kind of exciting." "Never mind that," said Arthur. "You have a problem here. A weird problem. Why would someone write your name all over the school?" "It's mysterious," said Buster. He nodded knowingly. "Mysterious, as in mystery," said Francine. "Come on, Binky. We need someone to solve this problem." Buster stepped forward, clearing his throat. "And I know just who to ask," said Francine. "Fern." She dragged Binky away. "Why didn't she ask you, Buster?" asked Arthur. "After all, you're a detective. You solved the mystery of the missing quarters." Buster didn't know. He dipped a sponge in the water and kept scrubbing. Arthur picked up a sponge to join him. "You could solve this.